All right, hey, here we are again, sports lovers. Welcome back to the Unlikely Triathlete. So, I've got a cool guest again today. They're always all cool, right? And to be fair, you see me looking at my notes down here, right? Because I can never remember shit. But normally I have like quite a page of bits and bobs to introduce these guys. I'm going to let Matt do that all himself. So Matt is a triathlon coach. He's involved with the TriDot group, and he is also formerly from the corporate world, right? And he's also one of those men who's finally crossed the line. And in his own mind and his own story, somewhere along the line, probably an unlikely triathlete yourself. So, Matt, welcome. I can go in a little further on about how and where we met and how I came to find you and think that you might be worth talking to on my show. Absolutely here to inspire people. So, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, look, firstly, honoured to be on. So thanks for having me. Thanks for thinking that I'm inspiring. So pressure's on. Now I've got to do some inspiring. Obviously we met a short while ago because I do a bit of work with TriDot. But first and foremost, I'm now a triathlon coach. If you'd asked me 5 years ago, are you going to end up as a triathlon coach? I would have absolutely wet myself laughing because, as you rightly say, I was the archetypal fat banker working in the corporate world, unhealthy, all the bad habits that go with that, stuck in a job that I hated. I'd done a few marathons, I'd done a few bits and bobs of training, but I wasn't really even an athlete, let alone a coach. And one day, I don't know what, I still can't put my finger on what the spark was, but one day I just decided, I looked in the mirror and I just thought, I'm not having this for the next 25 years. I need something to change. So it started with me diving into the world of triathlon as an athlete, and absolutely loved every single thing about it, whilst at the same time hating virtually every single thing about life as it was. Yeah. So not only did I then go and do it, I was one of those really annoying, stupid people that went straight in at the deep end, signed up for an Ironman, didn't have a bike, never ridden with clip-in pedals, hadn't swam in 30 odd years as a sport at least, and just went all in. Went in, became a triathlete, became an Ironman, loved every second of it, went and got qualified as a coach with Ironman U, and then built a business from there. So walked out on the corporate job probably 18 months ago after a couple of years of trying to balance both.
Yeah.
And never looked back. Now I've got a thriving coaching business and doing Ironmans as often as possible. Not just full distance, but started at the top and working my way down. So doing more and more shorter stuff now. And loving every single bit of life.
Yeah, absolutely. It totally fucking arse about face, isn't it? Like, most people say, well, let me go and have a look at a sprint try, and maybe borrow a bike or something like that. So you're going straight in the deep end, right? Which is, there's a fair few people out there, I think, that do that, but it's not common and it's not a lot. So is that something you advise or?
No, I will stress that this was before I became a coach. This was before I did all the learning. This is before I realized that the right way to do it is definitely not what I did.
Yeah.
But I was clueless. And I kind of look at my journey and think I would never have got to where I've got now if I'd started small, if I'd gone out and started looking at, should I buy a bike or should I do this or something. Those little steps would never have ending up where I am now. The journey wouldn't have looked the same.
Yeah.
I think I don't advise clients that I talk to now to start with an Ironman. Yeah. But in my relatively unique set of circumstances, if I hadn't done that, I don't think I'd be sat here now chatting to you. I'd still be working in the bank. I'd have ticked off a sprint here, maybe an Olympic there. I lived in Jersey at the time. There's a decent Olympic triathlon down there. That probably would have ended up being the summit of my kind of aspirations because I would have built up to that and thought, I've done it now, I've ticked the box, brilliant.
Yeah.
And I'd still be working for the bank. I'd still be like 5 stone overweight. I'd still be drinking too much. I'd still be doing all the crap I was doing when I worked in the bank.
Yeah.
And I definitely wouldn't be here now. So in some circumstances, it is the right way to go. But it's not what I would advise someone when they come 100%. On my books nowadays.
So apart from the banking and the 5 stone, we can still drink as much as we want because you're working it off in the triathlon training, right? Maybe not.
When you're 20, you can maybe get away with that. But when you're 47 years old, those hangovers take a little bit longer to get over. It disrupts the whole week of training. So less so now. But if you're a triathlete, you do a lot of work, right? You do a lot of work, and it does mean you can have a few excuses.
You can afford those extra calories, not necessarily the beers, right? Because I know there's a big push, and I certainly, out of for no particular reason other than just a challenge to myself, I've decided to take this year off the booze, right? And it's been quite hard, really. And I've resigned myself to drinking some of these zero beers, which actually are becoming more and more palatable. They're pretty good. I mean, a bunch of years ago, they were just horrible, weren't they? But everyone seems to be getting in on that market. I know that's another whole conversation, right? But as in terms of the triathlon and going from the unlikely triathlete, right? Where was I going to go with this? You decided to go and do a triathlon. How long ago was that when you did that? When you made that choice?
It was just before COVID. So,
Okay.
yeah, my transformation from literally fat banker to Ironman took about 5 months.
Okay.
And I just got it in before COVID started.
Okay.
So yeah, literally it was just right about, and then so what's that, 5 years or so ago now?
Yeah, COVID was a killer, man. You know, we had just moved over to the UK then from South Africa, and it was just myself and my youngest daughter, and my wife and the other one were stuck in SA, trapped with COVID for the bulk of the year. So yeah, that did kind of kill it, and I was really getting into throes of doing my triathloning at that stage, you know. And I think it was towards the end of COVID, I was lucky enough they started opening up a few races, and Lanzarote was one of them, right?
Yeah, okay.
So there I was looking through, I was like, oh, Lanzarote, that's perfect timing. Oh, that's only $50 on a flight. I'll go and do that one. So I signed up, paid the bill. And then, of course, I started researching the race, and I went, oh, fuck, what have I done, right?
Yeah.
So, well, as you probably know, Lanzarote is rated as the toughest Ironman in the world, right? So it's the lava fields, and it's the 2,500 meters of elevation, and it's 40k winds all day long, and that's not a tough story. It was like, oh shit, what have I done? And I did mention recently it was just over 15 hours for me. I was probably 60-70% prepared for that race, but we were all in, right? So we went over there and did that. Yeah, so we do those crazy things, but it was quite difficult actually getting back into it again after COVID, because I mean, everything was restricted. You couldn't get into pools, and you couldn't get into gyms and all that sort of shit. So from pre-COVID until now, dare I ask, how many races have you done?
Yeah, so I've done 3 full Ironmans, and now a whole bunch of other distances as I've began to kind of fill in the gaps and tick off the other boxes. What I also did during COVID, when a lot of stuff started to get locked down, and particularly travel was obviously a real ball ache to do, I got into ultra running as well. So I'd done a bunch of marathons when I was younger. I got kind of bored of road running because they're all a bit same.
Yeah.
Done London, done New York, done Barcelona, done all these different city marathons, but they're all kind of basically the same process and the same thing. But yeah, I just got into the shape of my life as an Ironman, and then COVID hit and I couldn't go anywhere. But I lived in Jersey, and Jersey was pretty fortunate compared to most of the rest of the world. Whatever level of kind of lockdown and restrictions the rest of the world was under, Jersey was always just sort of one step back or behind and slightly less restrictive. So I found I used my newfound fitness, and they still managed to get a couple of races away that year that were local ultramarathons. One's called Round the Rock in Jersey, stunning race for anyone who wants to do an ultramarathon. Right. Highly recommend it. Run all the way around the outside of Jersey, and because of the travel restrictions, and they were able to control COVID much better there, they got those races away. So I did a couple of ultramarathons, and I'm now kind of, I guess I'm 50-50. I probably aim to do now one full Ironman and one ultramarathon a year is kind of the loose kind of plan and goal. So okay. I love the ultra running too. I mean, basically the harder it is, the longer and slower the race, the more you have to rely upon the grit as much as the physical gifts. The more I love it, and the more I
absolutely.
The more I enjoy
and for us slightly older, gentlemen,
experienced.
Experienced. Yes. Yeah. We tend to get better, I believe, at the longer distance stuff. I don't know why or what it is. I guess there's all kinds of arguments for that. It's probably a controversial thing, but in general, I think a lot of people talk about it as you get into your 40s. You almost somehow better geared or better equipped for the ultra distance stuff. Maybe it's because we just learned to calm down and be sensible. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, it's the longer the race, the more it becomes a mental thing. You can get fit. I've long said as a coach, there are two different types of fitness: is being ready for a 70.3 and being ready for a full. But once you're ready for a 70.3, you can do a full.
Yeah.
Like straight off the bat, you can do it. Will it be your best time? No, it's a different type of fitness, and you've got to train in a different way to get ready for your best full distance. But if you're fit enough to go out there and smash a 70.3 in a good time, you can just carry on and you can do that full. Likewise, if you can do a marathon, you can definitely do an ultramarathon. You don't need, there's a little bit of different strength work I would recommend. You'd maybe go a little bit longer, but you can only get as fit as you are, right? You can only get, once you're at peak fitness, after that, it's all down mental to game, mental. It's all mental. And I think as older athletes, we've seen a bit more of life. We're a bit more grizzly. We've been through a bit more.
Well, that's
where
I want to jump in now on that, because that's where sort of my target audience comes into it, right? Because it's that mental game. So all these guys who think they can't or don't know if they can, that's an absolute classic example. I really like that, because I agree with you 100%. If you've trained and you can finish the 70.3, you can do a full Ironman race. I remember trying to convince someone that you can do this, and you will find it in you. I said, if someone had a gun to your husband's head, although in this case it'd probably be okay, but yeah, if someone had a gun to your loved one's head and said, if you don't finish that 70.3, whatever, you'd flip and find the strength to do it. If your life depended on it, your body will find a way and the resources to get you. Crawl, you roll, but you'll freaking get there, right? So it's in you. It's in you there somehow. So we don't want to do that and hurt ourselves, obviously, but the mindset is there to do that. So if people, and this is where I kind of want to go with the show, is to tell those ordinary people with respect and love out there that you can actually do any freaking thing, right? Yeah. And that's why I want to get guys like you on the show and myself and all these guys that have been through that. And we're just like normal folk, like everybody else, right? Well,
ish,
discussion perhaps, but in general sense, and people, I want to get that message across to these people and say, hey man, just have a closer look. You can do that shit, even if that spark is getting a coach or someone just to push you over that edge. Because once you put that one foot in front and then follow up the other one, you start going in the right direction. You'll start to discover things about yourself you just never knew were there. And that's a really, really cool example about that.
Look, there's so many cliches on this, right? Is it the Marines? I think it is, or maybe the Navy SEALs, who say that when you've reached what you think is your capacity, we estimate you're probably at about 40%.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's the other one? Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. And it is about that mindset. Yeah. It isn't as simple as I'm just going to decide one day I'm doing a full Ironman with no training whatsoever. Obviously, there is an element of physical preparation to get you there, but the vast majority of what will get you over that line is not those training sessions. It's 100%. All in the head. An Ironman, they are monumental tasks. They are monumental feats of endurance, but it is mainly mental. It's an eating competition. Can I get 8,000 calories down or whatever it is? If I can't do that, I'm not going to get very far. Can I overcome the pain and keep pushing forward when the body is screaming at me to stop? Obviously a coach or a training plan or a few months of getting yourself ready is definitely going to help. It's definitely going to help you do it in a better time.
Yeah.
Is it going to be the limiting factor, the one and only deciding factor whether you do it or not? I'd say the other two are probably way more important.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think if you can find the mindset to get started, you'll have that. You'll realize you've got that mindset to take you through those tough sections. 100%. So I want to go back to the ultra running, because I'm also one of those guys, and pretty much like yourself, I have no fucking idea why I want to do this shit, And I actually had an athlete this week. I digress slightly now, but I had an athlete this week. She's racing next week with me in Weymouth, right?
Nice.
Lovely girl, ex-military. Well, not ex-military, currently in the military as well. And it's her first 70.3, so she's done loads of Olympics and sprints and stuff, and it's always out on the bike and running, right? And she's starting to have that doubt in this final week. I haven't done enough training. My kids I've been away. I had to deploy, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. And, what am I doing? Should I just stick to the... I said, hang on. Rewind a touch. I said, in these sort of situations, just remind yourself of the why, And, it was almost without hesitation. I said to her, and she was like, hang on a minute. I said, why are you doing this freaking 70.3? She said, because I freaking love it. I said, go there. So hold on to the why, right? And that'll get you everywhere you need to go. I said, forget about the fact you think you're not going to do it in 6 hours. You might not do it in 7 hours. You got 8.5 hours or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
I said, so if you come walking in 10 seconds before the 8.5 hours, does anyone give a shit? No. Well, go out there and do the shit you love, And then it immediately changes the mindset, right? And they're like, okay, I've got this. But anyway, I digress. I was going on with the ultra marathon. So for the same thing, I don't know why I do a lot of these things, right?
No.
My missus will tell you it's good for my mental health, and it absolutely is. That is absolutely one of the huge pluses of getting out there and just letting your mind clear everything out. Because when you're training, running, swimming, riding, your mind's on that, right? And lots of cool ideas sometimes come from it. It's a completely different thing. So I'm a huge advocate of that, right? But I've always had this penchant. I don't know if I'm trying to prove something to myself or to someone or whatever, but I want to go and do the long, hard stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I'm desperate to get into some ultra running because I've never done ultra running. I've covered 80Ks a few times in my life years ago, right? But not really in sort of competitive marathon running kind of sense, or even competing against myself. So at the moment, I'm still, my key goal with the triathlon is I want to qualify for world champs in a 70.3, and I want to qualify for world champs and go to Kona for the full distance Ironman. So I'm maybe a few years out from that. I've been working at it for a good 5-6 years already, and we get closer, and eventually one of these days we'll get there, right? And I've actually thinned it out now to where I'm just going to focus on the 70.3s, and when I've done that, then I'll do those.
Move over.
Then I'll go into ultra running. So have you ever heard of something called the Badwater 135?
I certainly have, yes.
So you and me, how about it? Let's
yeah,
go.
mate, I'm in. I tell you what, I'll take your Badwater 135 and I'll raise you a Dragon's Back. So five of my best pals from Jersey from when I lived there are currently, today, Friday's the last day. So start at Conway Castle on the north coast of Wales and you end up at Cardiff Castle 5 days later, 380 kilometres later, and 16,500 metres of climbing. So double the height of climbing Everest from sea level in the space of a week. In the lovely, warm, beautiful Welsh weather. The first 2 days this week, they were blown off the mountain. They basically had to slightly alter the route. It was that bad. But yeah.
Is that on now, is it?
It finishes today, yeah. I've been tracking them all week on the tracker app. So yeah, like whatever you want to do in the ultra world, there are races, and then there are races, and then there are races, I'm for a lot of the reasons you said. There've been times when I've been out there. I did my last big race was last year in Africa. It was 220k, 6,000 meters of climbing through a tiny little remote island off the west coast of Africa called South Dome. Okay, you're from South Africa, you must have heard of it. It's the closest place on Earth to 0 degrees longitude, 0 degrees latitude. The finish line's the equator itself. And it's mental health benefit. It's visiting parts of the world that are incredible. It's putting yourself out there, challenging yourself, doing things you're not even sure you're going to get through and finish. And the self-belief and confidence and everything that comes on the back of it when you've done it. But shit me, there's times when you're halfway up a mountain and it's 5 hours in and it's day 4 and your feet are absolutely just ruined. You're like 3 hours since you've seen the last person. You don't even know how far it is to go because there's no GPS signal. You got no idea how much longer you've got to go that day. There are definitely times when you question your life choices as well.
No, you're absolutely correct, Hayward. That actually goes nail on the head for what I'm trying to say, because so we're like, hang on, we're talking all this, but we're talking about the unlikely triathlete, right? So where does this fit in again? So we go all the way back to the beginning and inspirational. I mean, we're just getting excited, man. We're just pumped for this shit. We're just talking about it, right?
Yeah.
But you and I, we're both those guys, self-proclaimed fat banker to finish line guy, right? And my story is slightly different, but it's not about my story today, right? But it was the start of something. And what I want to try and convince all these guys listening to us sitting here yapping, hey, is look at the excitement and the energy that it just I get goosebumps. I'm sitting here, fuck, I want to go and do that. People, what the hell would you want to do that for, And we ask ourselves that. And halfway up that mountain, we just want to cry and think, what the hell was I thinking, hey? But it's this moment here, right? So we're now sitting here talking about those moments, and Jesus was horrible, but man, the feeling at the end, you're invincible. You're like a god, man, that type of thing. So my introduction to triathlon was the end of my military days. A couple of blokes said, hey, there's a triathlon on the weekend. It was a sprint triathlon. I'd never really heard of the damn thing, right? Well, what do we do? Well, there's a swim and a bike and a run. We just need a swimmer. I said, well, yeah, I can swim. And so I went and swam out 600 meters or whatever it was, and the other guy rode a mountain bike and the other guy did a run, and it was pretty cool. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this with you losers. I want to do this shit myself, And I went into a couple of years of just doing sprint triathlons. And then, of course, life happened, You get married, you have kids, you get into, and I've always stayed fit with the running and that type of thing and taken on little marathons here and there. And it was only much later, 2017, I started with triathlon again, and my first dip in was a 70.3. And I haven't looked back since, But it's just making that start, even if it's just a part of someone's little race, because when you go there, the atmosphere, the vibe, thousands of people that you've never seen in your life before, screaming and shouting for you at the side of the road, when you've got nothing left in your legs, your heart, your mind, and they just lift you up, man. Yeah. And you just get going. Now, that feeling is not all about the sport. That
Not
feeling
at
is
all.
about your life, man. And that's what I'm trying to get these people. Get out there. Just take that one step, man, and be this excited person sitting here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I was telling you just before we came on air, I was on a podcast about 18 months ago, and I listened back to it this morning just to see what nonsense I was talking then and see if I've still got the same views now. And they were asking me, well, what's changed because you've done an Ironman? Like, it's a massive commitment. You do a lot of training, you do a lot of hard work, and then you get to the end and you get your little medal in your T-shirt and you go, well, what now? So what's changed? How did it impact me? Well, it's the corniest marketing phrase out there, but everyone knows of Ironman as hashtag anything is possible, and it sounds so corny. I remember when I signed up and kept getting all these emails with anything is possible. I'm thinking that's just some American marketing bullshit.
Yeah.
But the minute you cross that finish line, the minute you then go into the rest of your life and think, oh, I can't do this presentation for work, or I can't do this, I can't do that, and I now know that there's nothing I can't put my mind to. It's utterly changed my belief about myself, and you put yourself into those darker places, the day 5 of the ultramarathon, or the last 10k on the marathon on a full distance Ironman, or whatever your level is. If it's your first sprint try and you've never done anything like that before, the sense of self-belief and confidence and ability to look at life in a different way and go, well, I never thought that was possible, but shit me, I've now just gone and proved to myself that I can. So I used to think that was impossible, and now I can do it. Now I think that's impossible. I wonder if I go and try that, can I do that? And it totally changed my mindset. Would I be a coach right here now if I hadn't gone and thrown myself into the deep end and done something quite as badass and hairy as doing an Ironman off the bat? No, because I would never have believed that I could step away from that corporate job and go into something utterly alien to me.
Yeah.
I just never would have believed. I just never would have taken the steps necessary. I wouldn't have had the belief. But going and doing that Ironman made me totally reevaluate everything about myself and think, actually, I can do hard shit. And not only can I do it, from some perverse way, I really enjoyed it in the process as well.
And that's the key, hey? I mean, I've recently stepped out of my supposed day job with something quite unusual and different for the same kind of reasons, and it does change your life. And I think where you and I are at now is that we're chasing our passion.
Yeah.
We found something that we enjoyed, and then we thought, hey, I've got more to give. And then we realized that within us was a life experience we could show other people is available to them, And so we become coaches. And I've obviously now in the coaching mix speak to quite a few coaches. In fact, you and I and one other that I spoke to this morning are all guys that have been here and then not only went into Ironmans, but now have gone into coaching because we want to show everyone else how cool this shit is, right? And I think there's a lot to be said for that. So all these unlikely guys, these doubters, that's what's in it for you, man. And I always say to them, don't do the easy one. I mean, my daughter's like, I'm gonna try and run 5K. And so I'm never going to be a runner. She's gone from that to signing up for one of these couch to 5K things, right? And then next thing she's running 10. I say, well, don't go for the 5K, go for the 7K, because you can probably do the 5, but you're not sure if you can do the 7.5, or you're not sure if you can do the 10. So go for the 10. You might get the 5 out of it, but you'll surprise yourself and you'll do the 10. You go, fuck this, I'm doing a half marathon next time, And you start to make those little discoveries about yourself, which to me is really the big thing I'm trying to push there, So now I want to rewind a bit now. So we've gone from athlete living and you've gone into coaching. I've almost put the words in your mouth on that one now, right? So making that decision, I mean, Ironman, someone said to me, hey, go and do that course and, you learn a lot there. But that doesn't necessarily make us great coaches.
No, not at all.
I was saying that, earlier as well, that with respect to everyone who's a coach, everyone's got their own style, everyone's got their own philosophies, et cetera, right? But I think coaches that come into the industry in a similar line to where we've come, not certainly putting ourselves ahead of anyone, but we're coming in with that understanding of the everyday guy doing something. Tell me a little bit about if that's kind of how your journey's gone, how that ties in with what you do as a coach.
Yeah, look, I mean, coaches is a very broad term. There's people who've been incredible athletes who will be amazing at coaching the front of the pack guys. There's people who've come at it from started out as a life coach or as a PT or as a banker or a lawyer or a doctor or whatever. They'll all come with different knowledge, different skills. We all go out and do the same basic qualifications to know, how do I progressively overload somebody to build them up from X to Y? How do I schedule their week and make sure that they're not overtraining, undertraining, all that stuff. The technical stuff we're all going to know. A coaching relationship, though, is a lot more than that. You're kind of forming a team. You kind of want to find a coach that's on either on or has recently been on a similar journey to you, because with the greatest respect in the world, the 25-year-old who's had a great pro career but given up early, maybe with an injury, who wants to become a coach, he'll be incredible at knowing how to push you for 25 hours a week and getting you under 8 hours. But if you're a 55-year-old CEO of a company and you just want to get into it and test your limits and stuff, but you don't need a 25-year-old buck who's going to kill you with training. You want someone who's done that same journey you're about to go on. What do they say about coaching? You should only ever get a coach who's 1 or 2 steps further down the line than you. If they're 15, 20 steps further down the line than you, what they know is as irrelevant to you as if they're a coach for a football team or whatever, because it's a different world. You've got to find a coach that you resonate with. You've got to find a coach who's able to build a personal relationship with you. And you've got to find a coach who can empathize with the fact that you are 55. You have got a 60-hour-a-week job. You do fly twice a month to the other side of the world with work. You have got 3 kids to look after and balance, and a wife to keep happy, and whatever that thing is. The 25-year-old kid who's just come straight out of uni, had a 7-year pro career, and now he's gone pro as a coach, he's not going to know what you're going through.
100%, yeah.
If you are 30-year-old and you still have aspirations of turning pro yourself, or at least winning your age group and winning Kona and stuff, then maybe I'm not the best coach. Look, the longer I'm a coach, the more knowledgeable I get, the more able I am to deal with those kind of athletes.
Yeah.
But where's my sweet spot and where's your sweet spot? I've walked that walk. I know exactly what it's like for the unlikely triathlete to get going.
100%. So it's like horses for courses, isn't it? And also, I mean, because I know I've been involved with a couple of youngsters in the early 20s, and it's more like family and friends that have all gotten into this thing, inspired by us older folk doing them. I wanted to have a go at that. And they're a different animal to coach. So that 20-something coach is probably right for them, because he can still give them hammer and tongs. The body's still young and probably still take it, absolutely resonate with that and agree with that 100%, because it's the life experience that we bring to that with some coaching knowledge, and then you put that all together and you go from there. So is that your niche? Is that your area that you go for? Do you have a niche, or are you across the board? I certainly have a niche, an area that I prefer to coach.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So I definitely, when I got going as a coach, absolutely that was my niche, because that's where I felt comfortable and confident, and that's where I was kind of specializing, because I knew exactly what I went and did.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I'd say you hire with a coach is the ability to not make the mistakes that the coach made. So all that shit about diving in with a full Ironman and all that stuff, I went through the painful lessons and learnt that. So hiring a coach will help you in so many ways, but one of the biggest ones is not making the mistakes that they've already made. You can learn from their mistakes and all that jazz. So definitely when I started my business, I was focusing solely on looking for people like me, not just fat bankers. It could fat anyone, basically. But people who were slightly older in life, people who were balancing the corporate career with trying to train for these stuff, people who had a similar experience in life to me. As I say, the longer you're a coach, the more, every time you bring on a new client, they're ever so slightly outside of that niche, ever so slightly different over here. They recommend a friend because they've had a great experience and they're maybe a bit younger or a bit faster or a bit slower. So you do build up your knowledge as a coach over the years. And I guess that means you can confidently broaden who you're coaching. And I have got some guys now. I've got a couple of guys who are going to Worlds in Marbella. I've got one guy who realistically in with a very good chance of being on the podium at Worlds for his age group.
Wow, yeah.
Far faster, fitter, better athletes than I'll probably ever be now, because I'm a bit old to catch him up. Would I have been able to coach him on day one, fresh out of Ironman U certification, new to the industry? I probably could have done, but I wouldn't have had the confidence to do it.
Find your way.
Gradually you do. But yeah, the people who probably resonate most with me are the people who read my backstory and look at that. So it's not so much about I only want to coach those people, but they are the people who see my story, see what I've put out there on LinkedIn and on Instagram and all the rest of it. And naturally, that's who I end up coaching, because they're the ones who've resonated and seen my story and go, that's the coach for me.
Yeah. No, I think you're quite right. It's actually one of my common punchlines as well is exactly that. Let me help you not to make the mistakes I've already made, because I've made them. I've got 11 races now, 5 full and 6 70.3s behind me, and I've made mistakes in all of them. I still haven't qualified. I'm still only getting my nutrition right now, And I always use that. So I always say, hey, look, Tiger Woods needs a coach, right? I bet you his coach can't come anywhere near him in a round of golf.
Yeah.
He's got a freaking coach, right? So put that in your pocket, and I know. And I always say to the guys, do as I say, not as I do, because next week I'm racing. I'm recovering from a fractured arm, and I've got all kinds of injuries going on here. My athletes are, what the hell? Right, new coach coming up, So I absolutely resonate with all of that. That's going back to the unlikely triathlete theme. And I think a lot of those guys you find, but in their own minds, are unlikely triathletes. So maybe I need to kind of make that distinction somewhere along the line, because it's quite a difficult title to come up with, unlikely triathlete. What do you mean I can't do a triathlon? You know what I mean? But I think it's more, what I'm really trying to say is, what's in your own mind? In your own mind, this is not possible. Other people do this shit, and other people have coaches. I'm not. I've had a guy that I was hitting up, sort of made an inquiry, He said, oh no, I'm not at that level of being coached. I said, hey man, everyone needs a coach. Yeah. And I'm not trying to sell you coach because I want to pay my bills. I want you to have a good experience. You want to get through that race. You want to get it done and want to do another one. If you bumble along on your own and you make all the bad choices, there's loads of information on the internet, right? A lot of it good, but you've got to sift all that good shit out, right? And if you've got no idea, it's always handy to have someone to at least point you in the right direction, right?
Yeah, of course. One of the most common reasons people don't hire a coach is because they don't think they're worthy, which is absolute rubbish. Whether your goal is to scrape round in a minute under the cut-off time, or whether your goal is to get that world spot, everyone deserves a coach. Like a coach, whatever level you're at, a coach is going to help move you forward. Will they get you from 16 hours and 59 minutes to Kona in one season? Probably not. But will they move you forward? 100% they'll move you forward. They'll move you forward quicker than you will move forward by yourself. Yeah. Will you get there in the end? Yeah, eventually, if you're stubborn enough and bloody-minded enough to make all those mistakes. Not use a coach, you'll still get there if you've got that determination and drive. Yeah. A coach is just going to accelerate that. So people sometimes say to me, oh, a coach is expensive. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's not expensive, but yeah, it's an outlay.
Well,
but so's making 3 years worth of mistakes and then eventually learning that you need a coach in the end anyway.
Exactly that, and that actually, and I think it's quite valid as well. Again, so all these people that are listening to the show, take note, it is a cost thing, right? But no sport's really cheap. And a lot of the arguments against, I can't really afford a coach. But I tell you what I have seen, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to steer some people away from this. But people decide they're going to do a race because their buddy did it or whatever the case is. Oh, I'm going to do that. They go online and then they see all this fancy cool shit, right? They see a 12,000 pound bicycle. They see a wetsuit for a couple of grand and all this expensive shoes, and they got to have this, they got to have that. And I mean, that bill gets up there real quick. Plus, you got to pay your entrance. It's all your nutrition for your training, blah, 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 gym, all that kind of shit, right? I say, listen, dude, you don't need to spend 10 grand on a bike. I'm helping a guy buy a bike this week, and he said, oh, my budget's 2 grand. Now, that's a lot more than most people will have for a bike. And you don't need the 2 grand budget, right? No. Unless you're trying to win freaking Kona again, right? But I can tell you now, I've been looking around and helping him find a good deal under 2 grand that a pro would get on and do a really good time in, So that equipment's out there. So I say to the guys, listen, do a sit down and work out. Listen, realistically, I'm going to train for 6 months or 8 months for a full Iron, whatever your case is, right? That's the program I'm going to go on. Okay, I'm going to need a bike and blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is my budget. What have I got? What can I realistically afford in my budget, right? And then split that budget up. And instead of spending 10 grand on a freaking bike, spend 1 grand on a bike and give the other 9 to me. You know what I'm saying? Let's fucking get this shit right, man.
It's very true. It's very true. Like, it's really like when you get sucked into this sport that we all love, it's really easy to look at those canyons.
Everyone wants the shiny gear, right?
I know this and that. Like wetsuits are a great example. Who makes some amazing wetsuits, right? But their top end suit is like 3 mil, 1 mil almost in places, 2 mil in places. If you're a 105 to 55 second per 100 swimmer, that suit will make you faster. If you're a 2 to 2:30 swimmer, it's actually going to make you slower. You need the buoyancy. The reason you're swimming 2 minutes to 2 minutes 30 to even 3 minutes per 100 is because your body position in the water, your feet are dragging, your hips are dragging. You need a wetsuit with a thicker buoyancy, which tends to be the cheaper end of the range. But people go on, they look at the site and they go, I want to be the best. I want that suit because it's the most expensive. So that's the one that's going to help me the most. Not only is it not going to make you any faster, quite possibly some of this kit will make you slower.
Yeah.
but you don't know that. A coach will know that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can. Investing in a coach is investing in yourself, and actually that coach can help save you a shit ton of money by not wasting all of that on all the nice gizmos. Look, all of us, I think everyone doing triathlon, if money was no object, we'd have,
all the cool
we'd have
shit.
the top of the range gravel bike and the best road bike out there, and we'd have the shiny new TT bike every year because the color scheme's changed and it looks nicer. But in the real world, you don't need to spend all that. I think my LinkedIn post today, I can't remember, I schedule them a few weeks out, but I'm pretty sure today was the day my LinkedIn post was about the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake. It's no good spending money on an aero lid if the engine's crap, right?
Let's build the engine first, boys, and then we'll put a body around it. Yeah,
exactly. So all those, I'm gonna work on my aero position, but you're putting out 120 watts. Why don't we do an FTP test, see where you're really at, and let's spend 6 months over the winter building your FTP up to 200. Then the aero changes that you make will actually have an effect. Because at the moment, you're going along at 17 kilometers an hour. Yeah. Doesn't matter how aero you get, you're still not really going to change. But if we build you up so you're doing 30 kilometers an hour, then when you add in something that's benefiting the aero, actually it's actually going to start to work now. And when you get to 40 kilometers an hour, then it really starts to work. It's exponential. But don't go out and spend an absolute ton of money on a shiny new bike and a new aero lid and shave your legs and
I know, definitely shave the legs.
And you're still toddling around at the back. It's about understanding bang for buck.
Yeah.
There's an unlimited amount of money you can spend in triathlon. One of my favorite sayings when I meet people at an Ironman is the best way to make a small fortune is start with a big one and take up triathlon, right? You can prioritize what you're going to spend the money on, and a coach can help you to save in this and this. And yes, there's a cost to having a coach, of course there is, but it comes back to that. Don't make the same mistakes that I made.
It's almost priceless, really, if that makes any sense, And you're quite right. And anyone who wants to know, I've been riding the same bike, which I bought secondhand from a mate of mine. It's a Cervelo P5. It's 2014. So it's still got the old rim brakes. Brakes only make you go slower anyway, right? So we don't need that shit. So it doesn't bother me too much. And I was toying. I've always been, hey man, I'm the worst with, I want to buy all the cool shit, right? It's not a bad looking bike. And I kind of set myself the incentive, which is another thing I say to you guys. Hey, listen, let's start out here and then get yourself to achieve something and reward yourself with a new bike. So my reward is when I qualify for Kona, I will do that on a new bike.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
So in the meantime, instead of going out and spending 10, 12 grand on a new bike, I spent, I'm maybe almost ashamed to say, but I spent around about 2 grand. I stripped the whole bike down myself. I got a beautiful paint job done on it. Through someone I knew who knew someone who shot someone who had one of those guys. Fantastic paint job. I love mechanicking, and I encourage guys to work on your own bike.
Yeah,
there's nothing nicer, because that's expensive in itself. I bought all the newest, latest, upgraded everything, all the components, and I rebuilt that bike myself. So I'm sitting with basically a brand new bike. That's 2014. And I don't think I'll ever get rid of that bike. It's part of my it's part of my family now, So there's that as well, So hey, yeah, let's get out there on a normal road bike, even for your 70.3s, and we can look at other options, whatever. But get yourself there, and then say, hey, I can do this. Okay, now I've awarded myself the bike,
Yeah, look, train hard, race easy. If you use all of the aids to help your training, then there's nowhere for you to go, right? So
exactly.
If you can get good on a rusty old nail of a bike, then the minute you swap off that and onto something good, it's like getting out of a 25-year-old Mini Metro and getting into a Ferrari, right? All of a sudden.
Exactly.
But if you can get good at riding the Mini Metro and get half decent at that, then you'll jump onto this new thing and think, wow.
Be like a pro, man.
Yeah, exactly.
So then... Sorry, were you going to say something? No. So the other aspect I want to touch on when it comes to unlikely triathletes, so that's the whole cost aspect, right? And it's probably the most common one outside of I can't swim, right? Or I'm a shit swimmer. So, but that is time. Now, I know time, and this is your plug right here, right? Because, and I'm a true believer in it, and obviously I don't get anything for it, and that's fine. If I find something that I think works for me, and it was really a big turnaround for me, and I'm quite new to it, and this is how I met you. I said we're going to come back full circle to this, right? So I've signed up with TriDot, right?
Yep.
And so TriDot is basically a platform, I guess, for the guys in the know, the more common It's kind of like Training Peaks, but it's not Training Peaks. But if people want to know what it's about, it's a platform that coaches and athletes use independently or together. Really, it captures all your metrics, so you can put your training plans there, etc., etc. TriDot, I'll let you describe a little bit more about it because you're better at it, and I met you because you gave me my onboarding to TriDot. But for me, I found it not only as a coach, but I'm absolutely convinced as an athlete, if you can't afford the coaches, at least get in at one of the lower end packages or cheaper packages where you can basically coach yourself once you've had an onboarding session, and it runs all those numbers in the background for you. And I found that a lot of guys seem to think, I'm going to do an Ironman race 20, 25 hours a week, right? Unless you're the pros at the top end, absolute bollocks, right? So the first thing I try and do is convince people that you don't need that. And remember, when you do get to the long hour weeks, that's only down the line. A couple of months out, we start doing the long shit. You've got a long road. So initially, we maybe 6 to 9 hours a week on average we were looking at, and we start building on that, and we go through stages, that type of thing. So before I answer all your questions I've just asked you, tell me a little about TriDot, and do you agree with that it is a massive time-saving tool?
For the vast majority of athletes, yes, it will be. The dot bit of TriDot stands for data-optimised training, and I guess that it's biggest difference with TriDot to any of the other platforms out there is the way that training stress is measured. So every other platform out there still uses TSS, training stress score, which was invented and designed for cyclists only, and it's been bastardized to be used for runners and swimmers. And when it was invented in 2002, it was the greatest metric out there. We never had anything like it. Before that, it was RPE, and that was basically it. Yeah. Run a bit harder and then run a bit easier, and that was kind of your guidance from your coach to you. TSS came along, brilliant. It measured in a bit more detail what we were doing, but it was very basically time in a zone times the number of minutes, and that was it. And there's no recognition of the fact that actually I did a really hard training session yesterday, or actually I'm doing it and it's 40 degrees outside, or actually I'm doing it and I'm at 3,000 foot altitude versus sea level. The score of stress on your body was exactly the same. So basically what it meant as coaches, we were guessing a little bit. Oh yeah, I've set my athlete 60 minutes in zone 2, and as long as he goes out and does 60 minutes, actually as long as he does between 55 and 105 minutes, he'll get a green tick and it'll say that he's done his workout. Well, you know, and I know as an athlete now, if I do that at 6 o'clock in the morning when it's 8 degrees C and low humidity and no wind, or I go out and do that session and it's 35 degrees because it's now in the afternoon and it's humid and it's windy and it's all these other factors, they're two very different workouts. And it could be with any platform using TSS, that will be 64 points or whatever the number. Whatever time of day you do it, wherever you are in the world you do it, it's going to basically give you the same training stress score. So as a coach or as an athlete, you're kind of guessing, did I really push very hard or not? So TriDot recognize that TSS has some very big limitations, and it went out to address those. So it's added in 7 additional measures to measure what actual level of training stress did workout A, B, C elicit on the body. So because of that, because it can be so much more accurate, heat, humidity, age of the athlete, all these different metrics that's looked at, residual training stress from that workout I did 2 days ago, the really hard track session that still has a half-life, has an effect on my body. By looking at all those factors, it can be that much more honed in. The way I liken it is, when Nokia brought out the 5110 in 2002, we all thought it was groundbreaking, greatest thing since sliced bread, and it was. Because compared to the bricks that we're carrying around in the 1980s, this thing was absolutely mind-blowing. But are any of us still using it now? No. The iPhone 16 kind of makes that look a little bit stupid now, right? This is just an evolution, way better evolution on top. And because of the level of detail and data that is able to be looked at with every single athlete now, we can be more specific. So it can set quality over quantity. We used to guess a little bit and go, have I done enough? I don't really know. Well, let's just throw a bit more in there and an extra session there. So we ended up doing a lot more than we really needed to because we were guessing. Yeah. Now we can just make those educated guesses with far, far, far greater detail. So I use it as a coach. Someone can come on and use the platform by itself. A coach will add and enhance what the program is able to decipher and look at. So whether you opt for the coached option who's using it, or the AI alone, which is looking at your training data and optimize every single time you do a session, the system does 11,000 new calculations and works out, am I on track? Am I under training? Am I overtraining? The coach can decipher that information and help to inform what they're setting you, or you can rely on the AI alone to do it. So whatever your budget is, that system will be there. And every time you go off track, it's like a GPS, right? You tell it exactly where you're at now and tell it where your races are, where you're going, and it'll build you the route. And if you go off track, if you have a week where you're ill and injured or can't work, it'll just replot. It'll go, right, I thought the athlete was going to be here. Actually, they're over here. Either they've overtrained and they're massively over here, or they've had a week off and they're over here. Rather than with the old static plan, I'll just jump straight back into what that next week looked like. No, it replots the graph and goes, right, now I'm over here or over here. I've still got that same end goal. So now I need to replot the route. I'm not just going to jump back here. If I've had a week off, I probably shouldn't start Monday morning back with a really hard track session.
Yeah.
I've had a week off.
Yeah.
I should maybe start with a nice zone 2 30-minute run and let's see if the body has recovered from the injury. Let's see if I am back on track. So yeah, that's the way. That's
what I like about it. Perhaps I should just be a bit more clear because I just blunder off. But what I certainly don't mean that it takes hours and hours off your weekly training session. But really, what it does is it fine tunes it, and you shave off. You're shaving off times because you're getting. It affects your recovery times and quality training over quantity.
Yeah, so
I think because quantity is what takes the time, right?
Yeah. On average, it's about 30% less volume in total.
Yeah.
But athletes are getting better results. So
yeah, and I believe just from numbers I've looked at and already just looking at the programs, and again I emphasize I'm fairly new at this, so even at this early stage I'm seeing the benefits. Certainly less injuries. Less time off for that type of thing.
Yep.
I find most of the time the hardest part for me is holding the athletes back.
Yeah,
because they're all not doing enough. No, I didn't even sweat today. Well, that's fine. You stick to that, buddy. We'll get you there. But if they trust the system, trust the process, they're all seeing the benefit. So I think it's a great setup. So again, back to the unlikely triathletes, all these guys that are sitting out there doubting themselves because it's too expensive. Coaches are on porn star wages. Not that I know what those are.
And also, if you can find me a coach who is on porn star wages, will you let me know what their secret is,
please? Hey man, these guys are just putting excuses in front of themselves.
Of course they are.
The answers are out there, guys.
We're humans, right? We have this innate ability to trip ourselves up and to doubt ourselves and to create barriers and stop ourselves from doing what we want to do. So yeah, there's like anything. This is a relative. It's not that new a platform. We've been collecting data on triathletes for 20 years or more, so it's not new, but it's become a lot more in the public psyche in the last year or two within the triathlon world, certainly in Europe. But yeah, it's relatively new, so we like to kind of doubt it or not be confident about it or sure of it. But yeah, it's one of many advances that we now know a lot more about. In the same way, our understanding of nutrition has changed wildly in the last 5 years. Yeah. When I've only been a certified coach for 5 years. When I did it the first time round, 60 grams an hour, that's the absolute maximum the human body can absorb. You definitely, anything more than that, you're wasting it. What was it Blumenfeld was trying to smash down at Kona last year?
Was it 120?
Apparently he was aiming for 200 an hour.
Wow. Yeah, because I know that the new number now is sort of like between 100 and 120. I'm thinking, oof, that's a lot. I struggle with 80 or 90.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But yeah, apparently, according to somebody I met in Krajgau at the Ironman there, who worked for the nutrition company that sponsored him, said his goal was to try and hit 200 an hour. It's like, if you put that back into the context of typically a gel's 25 to 30 grams, right? That's a gel every like 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
He wasn't doing it just in gels, but that's how much the industry changes. That's how much the knowledge and the research and everything changes.
It's evolving all the time, and I think it's because of the massive interest. I mean, what do we got? Ironman races alone, never mind all the other triathlon outfits out there, but Ironman alone is 150, 170 races worldwide at the moment. And there's always 2,000-3,000 heads per race, so there's a lot of interest, and the more people want to know, the more it's definitely evolving. So in less than 50 words, and I'm going to be fucking counting, right?
You talking to me now, or you?
Yes, you. Give us your pearls of wisdom with the unlikely triathlete in mind. You sitting there with your knowledge and experience, where you've come from, where you go. Anyone who's sitting there doubting that has listened to what we've had to say today, what would you say to them to get them off the couch and across the finish line?
Okay, this is easy. You counting?
Okay.
Do what I did. Sign up. tell everyone you know you've signed up, and then work it out as you go.
100%. Start now. As what's it, Rob Moore, I think, says, start now, get perfect later, right? Because that's the way to go.
Yep.
Matt, it's been awesome, to finally actually meet you in person. You're not as good looking as I thought you were.
I'm not as good looking as I think I am either. So
no, man, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been great talking to you. For a guy who has only been involved in it at this level for 5 years, clearly you are very confident in your level of knowledge, and I certainly, I would certainly have no doubt in saying, hey, would you coach me? Of course, if you were affordable and I didn't have to sell a bike. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And I know we're going to inspire people. I think we've definitely answered some questions today for the guys that are listening. And hey, man, I can see you back here somewhere down the line. We're going to talk some more cool shit and come back and tell some stories. And we're going to bring with us some case studies, right? Because we're going to go take some unlikelies. We're going to get their asses across the line and we're going to come tell those stories here, right?
Brilliant.
So at the same time, I know you've got your own coaching business and your precision and you're involved with TriDot.
Yeah.
Certainly we're going to add some of your shit and our details down below.
Fab.
But I'll be in touch with you over the week anyway, and we'll put all that cool stuff in so people know where to find you.
Amazing.
And how to find you and what to do. Other than that, man, fantastic. Thanks again. Anything last you want to say before we shut out?
Just been a pleasure to be invited on, mate. It's been, as you say, great to meet you in person at last. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right. Cool, man. Well, that's all we got this week, guys. Remember, as always, like, share, all that cool shit that you got to do to stay in touch. And of course, what's the word they use?
Adios.
Register?
Register.
No?
No. Subscribe.
See how I did that? Right. Subscribe. And you'll get more of this cool shit. All right. Thanks very much, guys. Never stop moving.